I feel like the BBC and the bookseller would literally have my head. They basically have the ability to devour books, like actual like physical books. It's one of those books where I'm like, I don't know if I can wait long enough for the sequel to come out. Taylor Jenkins Reid has me in a chokehold at this point. Hey besties, it's Joel, and today I'm going to be going over all of the books that I've read so far this summer in the months of June and July, and also just going over some of the books that I want to read before the summer ends. I hope you're all doing very well and that you're looking after yourselves. If you've yet to grab that drink of water, please do so. You must remain well and hydrated. And if you've yet to check out my Instagram nor my Twitter, I would highly recommend you go do that as well, because I post some extra bookish content that you're not gonna see here. I've just done so much reading over the past 2 months. Like, it's been a lot, and especially because of everything else that happened in the past 2 months, like Yelp, me going to like various different places to film different videos, and just needing a bit of time away just to recuperate my energy. And so I think it's definitely some time to reflect, definitely some time to just see what I've read in the past 2 months, and especially as I now wrap up my uni assignments and go forth to do my dissertation in September, it's definitely going to be a fun experience, especially because like it's kind of like I'm going back to school in a way, and I'm needing to prepare myself. And speaking of going back to school, I'm really excited to be working with Karma on today's video in order to make you aware of an excellent giveaway that they're doing. And so over on their Instagram, they're actually giving away these back to school lockers, which are contained with items that may aid you whilst you're going back to school this year. And they have stuff inside like a Polaroid printer, the latest AirPods. They also have this really cute boba tea keychain, a bucket hat, and plus there's just other amazing goodies in here as well. But also, Karma can help students in a multitude of different ways, as it's an app and extension that can help you save time and money while shopping online. It's super easy to install on your phone or on your browser, and they send you alerts when something is going on sale or it's back in stock. Plus, it's able to scan for coupons that will help you save money whilst you're at checkout as well. And so you can rest assured that through Karma, you're always paying the lowest price possible. And so for me, you know that I like books, clothes, and also skincare as well. And while shopping recently for skincare, I was able to use Karma's coupon tool in order to actually save some money on some of the skincare that I wanted. And so if that sounds great to you, then you can use the link in my description to go check out Karma for yourself in order to save yourself some money. Plus, be sure to go over to their Instagram, which is @karma_shop now, in order to check out the giveaway for these amazing lockers. And so now that we've gone over something that I'm currently using, we can now proceed on to what I'm currently reading, what I'm currently watching, what I'm currently listening to, and also what I'm currently gaming with. And so for what I'm currently reading, I've actually started Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan, Cliff Chang, Matt Wilson, and Jared K. Fletcher. I've just started this because I want to watch the Amazon Prime series of Paper Girls, and my partner really loves Paper Girls, although he hasn't actually read volume 6 yet, so I had to buy it in order for him to be able to like finish the series with me. And I've just finished volume 1, and I'm really excited about it. I'm reading these for a video that I want to be doing this month on like reading certain things before their adaptations, and I am really excited about this as well. So far it's amazing. It basically follows like these 4 paper girls who essentially get involved in some kind of like time shenanigans, and it's really interesting so far. I don't really know much about it, but each of the characters literally from the very first volume are very interesting. The art style is stunning, and I'm just really enjoying this, and so I'm really excited to continue. But yeah, that's what I'm currently reading. In terms of what I'm currently watching, I'm actually watching a Korean drama at the minute, as I recently finished Netflix's Resident Evil, which I'll probably rate about a 6.5 out of 10, as whilst I did enjoy it in and of itself, thinking about it in regards to like the wider video game universe did let me down a bit. The show in and of itself was very interesting to watch, very intriguing. I hope there is a second season, because I definitely want to see where it goes to next. I would literally just watch the show for more Albert Wesker content. Anyway, in terms of the Korean drama that I'm currently watching, I am watching Alchemy of Souls, which is this kind of like fantasy historical drama, as it takes place in like a fictionalized country and follows like mages who use a kind of water magic based system, and it follows body switching, revenge, and I'm really excited to see what happens next in Alchemy of Souls. The way that this drama is going ahead, it reminds me a lot of like wuxia dramas, and it's just interesting to see this kind of story in Korean media and the different like cinematography and the different like avenues and story it takes us on. But yeah, that is literally what I'm currently watching before I go on the whole ramble about about it. For what I'm currently listening to, I think me and every other like black person in existence is probably listening to Renaissance by Beyonce right now. Let me grab my phone because there's literally like a trilogy of songs that I literally have on repeat in the car when my partner is driving. Cozy, Alien Superstar, and then Cuff It. Those are the three songs that I always put on because they just feel so great together. I mean, the whole album in and of itself is like a one episode experience because like the songs fade in and out of each other super well. And if there's like an album I would recommend that has a similar energy, it would be Mercurial World by Magdalena Bay. Renaissance is what I'm currently listening to. It is such an amazing album. I needed this, and there's just so many songs I'm now going to be putting into novel playlists, which is just going to be amazing. In terms of what I'm currently gaming, I have literally just been playing Fall Guys with my friends, which is kind of an obsession almost, but it's also been very fun because in the beginning I was very bad, but now I'm actually quite good at it. Making my way through all the different obstacle courses is just a lot of fun, but I also want to start playing like other video games soon, but I'm kind of waiting until I've moved house, which should be happening in the next month or so, which is scary. I'm gonna have way more shelf space. When I do like my bookshelf reorganization video in my new place, I'm gonna have to do like a memorial clip for the piles because they do need to be commemorated and they do need to be remembered. They've just been such a character on this channel for so long now, and especially as we almost reach 100k, that's a lot in and of itself. That's something else. We've come a long way, besties, and I'm really excited to see the next chapter, and I hope you're all gonna be here with me. But anyway, that is basically everything that I've been currently doing. But now let us go back to the previous 2 months where I have been basically reading a lot. I am only really able to talk in depth about 3 of the books that I've read because everything else is basically for 2 prizes that I was judging. And so the first things that I had read in the month of June was the Young Writers Award short stories, and this was like a batch of 50 short stories that I had the pleasure of consuming. These are basically stories written by children in the UK aged 12 to 18, and basically they're encouraged to write up to 1,000 words, and essentially these are then submitted to the BBC, who then are shortlisted down to the top 50 via a bunch of readers, and then I go through the top 50, read them alongside the other judges, and pick the top stories that I want to go into the shortlist. And then at the judging meeting, which took place the day before Yelk on July 7th, we then whittled it down to our top 5, and then we picked the winner out of that top 5. And let me tell you, that meeting was so tough. There was just such excellence with everything these children wrote. It really made me aware of the way that creative writing should be encouraged and flourished within these young children, because there is such potential and talent within all of these children, and I am just very looking forward to seeing the authors of the future. I can't wait to provide some of the feedback towards some of the kids. It was just an amazing judging meeting as well, being able to judge with all of the other judges and see what they thought about the other stories, and so I can't really go into specific stories that I liked because, you know, the shortlist hasn't been announced yet, and also it's pretty unfair if I did that to the other people who submitted to the competition. But the other prize that I judged that I read the books of throughout June and July was the Young Adult Book Prize, and so there were 10 shortlisted titles that I had to read. And so we have The Upper World by Femi Fadugba, Ace of Spades by Frida Abikeyi Minde, which I did read before the shortlist, but I reread to judge. Afterlove by Tanya Byrne, First Day of My Life by Lisa Williamson, Hani and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating by Diba Jagirda, The Yearbook by Holly Bourne, Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen, House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland, The Crossing by Manjeet Mann, and then finally, You're the One That I Want by Simon James Green. And actually, it feels like weird in a way to read this title because unfortunately Olivia Newton-John recently passed away, and so just like thinking about like the Grease references in this just kind of like brings up a whole lot of thoughts around about Olivia Newton-John. So those were the 10 YA books that I had read throughout June and July, and each one provided such a enriching story, and there were definitely elements that I loved about each and every book. I can't really say any more about that because I can't show any favoritism towards any of the books. We haven't announced the winner yet, and each book really proved why it was shortlisted. And we also got to hear the thoughts of these books from kids in like their own respective schools, and so it was very interesting to see what they thought from their own perspective, as they are the target audience for these books. And the winner that we ended up choosing is just one that I felt strongly about from the very beginning when I had read it. I'm really excited for all of you to find out who the winner is on August 25th. I'm just very excited by the future of YA through reading all of these books. I mean, there are such stunning books coming out for the rest of this year and into next year as well. I mean, there's one called They're Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington, who is also my friend, but I would highly recommend you go at it on Goodreads. And so those are all the books that I had to read for judging various prizes in June and July. I feel like the BBC and the bookseller would literally have my head if I tried to describe any any of those books in any further detail. But this does mean now that I can move on to the 3 other books that I read during this period and go into some more depth with them. All of these are fantasy in their own kind of way, and so I'm very excited to share them with you. And so the first one that I had read is The Book Eaters by Sun Yudin, which I believe is currently out now in the US, but doesn't release in the UK until September. The Book Eaters essentially follows 6 families in the United Kingdom that aren't necessarily human. They basically have the ability to devour books, like actual, like, physical books. And so it basically follows our main character, Devon Fairweather, who essentially is a mother to a child that doesn't devour books, but instead human minds. And because of this, Devon is forced to take some extremes when it comes to protecting her child. And this book definitely took me a little bit of a ride, but it was definitely very intriguing to see the ways that everyone just appears very morally grey within this story, and the ways in which Devon's son does certain things. This story definitely touches upon a lot of contemporary topics that are going on in the world right now, and I definitely feel like it's just such an enriching and interesting book. And it was just very interesting to see Devon's role in this society, especially as a woman within the Book Eater family system, and what that means for her. As soon as I finished it, I literally just could not stop thinking about it. Like, it was just so good and amazing. I would highly recommend you go and read it. Like, if you have read it already, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. But if you haven't read it yet, just let me know if you're looking forward to reading this, or if you want to read it now. And yeah, I just think that this was amazing. The next book that I then read in this period is a book that I already did a whole dedicated reading vlog to, and one that I think a whole lot of you were waiting for me to read for the longest time, and that is Babel, or The Necessity of Violence, An Arcane History of the Oxford Translators Revolution by R.F. Kuang. This is like book of the year for me, probably. I'm just gonna say that right off the bat. This basically follows Robin Swift, who is taken from Canton in China to London in order to be taught by Professor Lavelle for the day that he is able to enter the Royal Institute of Translation, or Babel, at Oxford University. And essentially, Robin loves the idea of being able to study within Oxford and get a grasp of language, but then he inevitably learns that everything that he does in Babel is essentially a betrayal to his homeland. And as things with the mysterious Hermes Society begin to escalate the situation at Babel, Robin basically has to grapple with the fact that maybe not everything can be resolved by non-violence, and maybe violence is necessary in order to enact change. And this book just basically changed me as a person. Just reading Robin's story and getting the different perspectives of like Letty, Rami, and Victoire, and just like feeling and experiencing this in Oxford was just a whole surreal thing in and of itself. And just the way that R.F. Kuang just kind of builds the society of Oxford and Babel and conveys this story with such nuance and such like masterful craftswomanship is just amazing. This, I feel like, redefines what dark academia can be, and it's something that I feel like is going to define a lot of future works of dark academia. But in and of itself, Babel is just such a stunning read, and I feel like a lot of people are really highly anticipating this one. It definitely gives you a lot of information, but it doesn't do it in a way that it overwhelms you. It gives it to you slowly and very subtly as well, but then your brain is always turning. It's such a stunning book, and one that I would recommend to people who are wanting to learn about writing craft, because it definitely does things really well in terms of characterization, in terms of plotting, in terms of building up a world that you want to fall in love with, but know that you can't because of certain ways. And it really depends on the person that you are, that you'll view the society of Babel in different ways. It's very interesting, and I am just really happy that I finally got to read this. And then finally, the last book that I got to read was The Final Strife by Sarah Al-Arifi. And this one is the Goldsboro edition, which I lost and then found because it was literally right by the chair that I was recording in. And it's just such a stunning slipcase edition by Goldsboro, and I am just in love with it. They really outdid themselves with this one. And so basically, The Final Strife follows 3 women who band together against an empire that seeks to divide people based on their type of blood. There's red bloods, blue bloods, and the clear bloods. And it's not only the way that this story shows the struggle struggle of being divided by your blood type, but then also the way that it tackles like political intrigue, class struggle, and competitions and betrayals. It's all the different kind of things that you want from a fantasy, and all of the things that I just loved about this book. And hearing Sarah Larifi talk about it on the Unbury Your Gaze panel that we had at YALC, in the way that she had created this queer normative world within this story. And I also had the opportunity to interview Sarah Larifi over on my Instagram, and just hearing her like experiences of drafting and writing this story and the different ways that she had come up with her characters, it was definitely a fascinating talk. This book in and of itself was just such an excellent read, especially given like the world building. Sila, Anor, and Hassa were definitely interesting and intriguing characters to read in and of themselves, and the way that they navigate the worlds around them are different. I remember just like reading and finishing this book and immediately wanting the sequel, and just being like, I need this like sooner rather than later, because it's one of those books where I'm like, I don't know if I can wait long enough for the sequel to come out. I felt the same way as I felt when I finished Jade City, in which it was this kind of like hunger for more. I'm really, really excited to see what is going to come next from Sarah Larifi in this series, and I'm hoping that I can get an arc of it in some way. But overall, this is just such a phenomenal debut, and I definitely am going to be rereading it, I think in September. I just think it's going to be such a good book to, and especially in like this new edition as well, like, how could I not? How could I not? And so now that I've covered the 3 other books that I read during the months of June and July, I really want to take the time to give you a little bit of an August TBR, and especially before the summer ends and we go into like autumn time, because I feel like those months are definitely more like fantasy months, and I definitely am planning to read a lot more fantasy during that period. I do have 6 books here that I want to try and read, but the first one I don't have with me, and that is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, which is her memoir. I've wanted to read this ever since I heard the title and also saw the cover. I really love the kind of like aesthetic of this cover, but then also the way it ties in with the title is just so clever. I've watched Jeanette McCurdy since I was very young, when Jeanette McCurdy was in iCarly. It's definitely going to be an eye-opening experience for me, and it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to read. I think I'll be reading the physical version whilst also listening to the audio, because I definitely want to hear Jeanette McCurdy's voice whilst reading this memoir. And then also this month, it is Women in Translation Month, which is celebrating books that are translated from women writers, but then also celebrating women translators as well. The 2 books that I do want to read this month are written by women, but they're also translated by men, which I didn't realize until I put them on my TBR. I do want to try and find a book that is both written by a woman and then also translated by a woman. But the 2 books that are translated that I want to read this month are I Want to Die But I Want to Eat tteokbboki by Beck Sihi, translated by Anton Hare, and then we also have Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Mizuki Tejimura, translated by Philip Gabriel. I Want to Die But I Want to Eat tteokbboki, I picked this up in Oxford because I loved the title, and I also really love eating tteokbboki, and so I felt this was going to be quite an interesting read. And then Lonely Castle in the Mirror is basically like a fantasy-esque story where 7 teenagers wake up in like this castle that's in a mirror land, and basically they have a bunch of riddles to solve, and the first one who solves it gets a wish, but if they don't leave by 5 o'clock, they'll all be punished. And I'm just really excited by that. I wanted to read this back in April, but I wasn't able to because there were other books that I wanted to read first, but now I'm finally getting the chance to read this. The next book that I then want to read is actually another fantasy book, and that is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This one is part of a video that I probably will be doing where I'm going to be reading The Priory of the Orange Tree in a kind of vlog similar to the Babel one, where I'm just doing a 1-book reading vlog. A lot of people are scared of how long it is, and I just am really excited to see everything that this story has to offer. I don't know much about the story in and of itself, and I've done that purposefully because I want to go into this story blind, but I feel like it's going to be such an exciting journey, and just seeing everything that this has to offer is going to be amazing. And especially because the prequel A Day of Fallen Knights cover was revealed recently, I think this is just going to be the perfect time for me to delve into this world for the very first time. The next book that I then want to read is actually a romance book, and that is Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which was one of my most anticipated reads for the year. I've just seen so many people love this and hype it up, and so I'm very much excited to get into it. And then finally, the last book that I'm really looking forward to reading is Carrie, Soto Is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The arc of this that I got during YALC, I feel like Taylor Jenkins Reid has me in a chokehold at this point, and so anything that she puts out, I will read. I feel like we might have some cameos from other characters in the Hollywood universe that Taylor Jenkins Reid has built. It's a lot, but also I'm very excited for it. That is basically all of the books I hope to read in the month of August. I'm just very excited for this next month. And I just want to thank you for sticking around, for listening to me ramble about all of these books today, and a massive thank you to Karma for sponsoring today's video once again. you can check the link in the description to check out both the giveaway that they're doing and also the app/extension that you can use to save time and money while shopping online. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, be sure to click that subscribe button so that you're notified whenever I upload next. I'll have all my social medias in the description down below for you so you can follow me on every single other platform. And there's definitely one or two secret TBRs that I haven't told you about in this video, so I guess until the next time, bye besties.